Landing on Morven by Stephen Meehan. Tarian drew a deep breath as he peered through the colonization ship's windshield. He rested his fingers on the hull as he turned toward the other individuals on the bridge, Keldon and Sherry. With a soft smile, Tarian sauntered to Sherry's seat and touched the top of one of her screens.
Can you confirm if the planet is capable of supporting life?
Her lips twitched as her gaze flicked up to Tarian's finger.
The answer's still the same, Captain. This planet can support us. From what I can tell, there's rudimentary animal and plant life, which should supplement the inventory we've hauled across the system from Laria.
Excellent,
Tarian said, though he'd already moved toward his viewport. He tapped the other individual's shoulder and asked,
Kel, have we received the final approvals?
We did.
With a nod, Tarian slipped back into his seat and activated his active displays. Instantly, a plethora of data splashed across the windshield, presenting him with everything required for a safe landing. Once settled, he flipped another switch, activating the intercom.
After our examination, we've determined Laria's twin planet will support life. More importantly, we've received final approval, so prepare for landing.
With a lopsided grin, Tarian deactivated the comm.
Are you two ready?
As Sherry grasped the edges of her monitors, she popped off the chair with wide eyes.
Captain, something's altered the atmosphere.
What's happening with the planet?
I'm not sure.
Sherry said, dropping back into her chair.
All I'm getting are several anomalous readings that could complicate our entry.
With a glance over his shoulder, Tarian focused on Sherry's head poking over the monitors.
Should we abort the landing?
As a flurry of clicks and whirls filled the bridge, Sherry leaned toward the screens. When a silence filled the room, she leaned against her seat, shaking her head.
Disregard what I said because everything looks clear now.
With a nod, Tarian's fingers wrapped around the controls.
Let's establish Laria's first colony.
Keldon rubbed his brow as his eyes closed.
Here we go.
A smile split Tarian's face as the ship sliced through the outer atmosphere. However, a second later, the hull shuddered violently before the entire vessel groaned, as if being squeezed by a giant. Sparks flew from the dashboard as everything rattled, creating a discordant symphony. His gaze swept across the windshield, collecting the information splashed across it.
Sherry, this isn't fine. What's happening?
There's nothing to explain this turbulence.
The vibrations intensified, rattling the trio. As Keldon's knuckles whitened about his chair, he glanced at Tarian.
Is this going to work?
Kel, this shouldn't be happening.
Sweat emerged from Tarian's brow as he fought to keep the controls from whipping about.
That's not helping, Sherry. What's going on with the planet?
On it.
With a curt nod, Sherry's attention whipped back to her console. As the ship sliced through the atmosphere, the vibrations worsened. With a glance at the controls, a curse of frustration erupted from Tarian's lips.
The engines are failing.
What's that mean?
Before Tarian could respond, the vessel's controls slackened as the ship plummeted. Tarian released the controls as he activated the comm system.
All hands prepare for an immediate crash landing.
After killing the channel, Tarian reached out and activated the ship's emergency repulsor engines, providing enough lift to slow the vessel's plummet.
Will those provide enough power to land?
No, Kel.
Tarian's fingers flew across his controls.
They're emergency aids not designed for landing. Unfortunately, given our status, we have little else to keep the ship from plowing into the ground. Take control of the repulsors and keep their power output low.
Tarian, you just admitted you can't land with them.
As Tarian's fingers continued their dance across his controls, more sweat flowed down his brow.
Sherry, I'm well aware of what I said. Unfortunately, it appears we're going to have to get creative.
What's that mean?
Despite his fingers' frantic dance, Tarian eyed the plummeting number representing the distance to the surface.
Kel, I'm trying to re-engage the engines, but I'm having limited success. I want you to monitor the distance to impact, and just before we collide with the surface, spike the repulsor's power to 300%.
They'll blow up.
That's happening either way, Sherry. At least with this maneuver, we might survive. Now find us a smoothish runway.
This can't be happening.
Do it.
A few moments later, a set of coordinates popped up on his display. As he continued his fight with the engines, he fired up the ship's thrusters, nudging the massive vessel toward the highlighted site. When he saw the distance race towards zero, he drew in a short breath.
Punch it, Kel.
With a curse of his own, Keldon activated the emergency engines, feeding a dangerous amount of energy into them. The resulting burst of force stopped the vessel's motion. The craft hung in the air for a moment before resuming its journey like a weightless feather. However, as it neared the ground, a trio of explosions announced the death of the repulsors. A second later, another crash rocked the ship before a drawn-out grinding announced the ship's contact with the ground. When the ship finally screeched to a halt, Tarian peeled his hands off the controls.
Sherry, given our landing, I believe it'll be quicker to highlight what's still operable.
Do we still have power?
Tarian rubbed his eyes.
That's not helpful.
With a nod, her fingers flew across the controls, and after several seconds, she peered over the monitors.
Structurally, we're better off than you'd expect. However, I hope nobody wanted off this planet.
Tarian, that was an amazing landing, considering what happened.
Tarian rose and placed his hand on the window and stared at the strange environment.
We survived. Nothing more.
With a deep breath, he loosened his restraints and turned to face Keldon and Sherry.
First, we have to discover what survived the crash. Then we investigate our potential survival.
With that, our story concludes. I hope you've enjoyed today's reprieve from your daily grind. If you like the vibe, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because every bit helps get this channel spread to those who require a momentary chance to unwind. I'll see you for the next tale, my friends.